Test, test. The time. Okay, sorry about that, folks. We'll call to order. It is 6:32. Welcome, everyone. On my way to the beginning of my agenda. Okay, I'd just like to begin by acknowledging the Gidim Den clan and the Wet'suwet'en people on whose land we live, work, and play, and where we are meeting today. And further advise that this meeting is being recorded and webcast, and a notice explaining that is on the bulletin board outside these chambers. And council, you have an agenda. There is no supplemental. A motion to approve, please. Councillor Raven, Councillor Buikema, all in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried unanimously. And we don't have any petitions or delegations. We are at the public comment period. If anyone would like to speak to an item that is on the agenda this evening, this is your moment. So I'm just looking to the gallery just in case there was something you wanted to speak to. Okay. Then I'm going to jump to the minutes. We have 8.1 from June 10th for approval, please. Councillor Leonard, Councillor Raven, any errors or omissions? All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. And there's nothing to release to the public this evening. So we're right at, council reports. Councillor Buikema.
Thank you, Mayor Attrell. Most of my report is there for information, but I just wanted to mention a few additional things. First of all, my intention was to attend the Hydro open house, but my workday didn't allow for it. So I should make that correction to my report. I did attend the library board meeting on June 18th because Councillor Elliott was out of town, and I was asked to pass on their thanks for the purchase of the Heartstrings building. There is a incredible level of excitement at the thought of having a new library somewhere down the road. And they were also very happy to hear that the Moose would be staying. That was one of their questions and concerns. I know the Interior News highlighted it on the front page of the newspaper recently, but I'd still like to highlight the fact that Smithers Brewing won the Canadian Brewery of the Year award. I think that's quite an honor. And then finally, I just wanted to mention that I walk past the Indigenous Housing Project quite regularly, and I must confess, I love the look of the building, and I think it will be a wonderful addition to the housing stock in Smithers. And that's it for me. Thank you, Mayor Attrell.
Thanks, Councillor Buikema. Any questions or comments for Councillor Buikema? Okay, Councillor Elliott.
Nothing to report, but I'd like to thank Councillor Buikema for attending the library meeting in my place. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Elliott. Councillor Leonard.
I was double booked on June 14th, so I couldn't attend the centennial celebration, which really bummed me out. Managed to get in a squeeze and hug Janet Harris and thank her for her her awesome stewardship of that society and maintaining that place for all the years that she has. And then on June 17th, I did attend the Hydro open house and just saw the plan for the North Coast transmission line. And it's pretty fantastic. And it's going to employ a lot of people in the north over the next few years.
Thanks, Councillor Leonard. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Mayor Attrell. My report is there and I'll answer any questions that folks might have. I actually have a question outside of my report for staff. I just wanted to use this opportunity to do so. I was reflecting on our role and how we support human health, including in our clean air plan. And I was wondering if I could ask a question of staff regarding air quality advisories. I do have a motion, but I thought I would just ask Mr. Dewar if it would be possible to have our communication and engagement specialist coordinate with the relevant agencies such as Northern Health when we have air quality advisories or poor days, just to advise folks on the key tips, just to protect folks.
Mr. Dewar.
I'll make a note of that and we'll look into it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Patterson. Councillor Ray, I'm having trouble with names again.
Just, I believe at one point we were putting it on the our webpage. I don't know if that was before the redesign or not.
Yes, we'll just leave that as information for Mr. Dewar to look to Ms. LeBlanc. There certainly have been air quality days lately. Okay, and then Councillor Patterson's report is here if there's any questions for her. Okay, thanks, Councillor Patterson. And Councillor Raven.
So my report is in the agenda. Just a couple things to highlight is the Indigenous Perspectives opening at the Art Gallery. It is still running and it is an absolutely incredible show. Various mediums, and I encourage everyone to stop by. Then there was also a grad walk up at Smithers Secondary School on the 19th. And I'm going to do a very shameless congratulations to all the grads, including my daughter Evangelina. So it was a really cool event. And then on the 21st, I also attended the Community Wildfire Preparedness Open House that happened at the Fire Hall. And one thing that I didn't know is that part of the Fire Smart program, they worked in partnership with the library and they actually have a Fire Smart kit for kids. So there's a little backpack with a whole bunch of different books and also different activities that kids can do that you can take out of the library, which I did not know about and I found really interesting.
Thanks, Councillor Raven. Councillor Ray.
Nothing to report, thank you.
Thanks. A couple of things. I apologize for not getting a written report in. Somehow that escaped me. A couple of things people have commented on already. I was able to go to the Central Park 100th, and I just wanted to echo what Councillor Leonard said and just acknowledge the volunteerism of that board. And two members of the board have been there since the society was formed, and that's Brian Edmondson and Janet Harris. And, you know, volunteer jobs are pretty amazing. People give a lot, but to stay for as long as they have and be that backbone for that, that building. And I think, you know, people associate what happens in the building, you know, the gallery, the dance studio, the museum, and some of the studios. But it's the Central Park Building Society that enables all that by looking after the building and maintaining it over decades. And it was a chance to just acknowledge their work, and I wanted to echo that here at this table. And just a couple of things that I was lucky to be able to do. So finally managed to get myself to the college to experience the really good food produced by their cook training program. Very lucky, and it was nice to have that work done in Smithers by the college. Attended briefly Indigenous Peoples Day at the Zelkant Friendship Center. It happened a couple of days early. Regular Regional District of Bulkley-Nechako board meeting last week. And again, was very lucky to be invited to give words of congratulations to the grad students at the graduation ceremony. It was quite lovely and very, man, some of those kids work hard when you could see the awards that some of them received for their time. And it was, it feels like the world might be in good hands with those folks coming forward. So it was very nice. And then this last weekend was North Central Local Government Board. So it was my first chairing adventure. So every organization has its challenges, but it was lovely to be able to be there and hear, the entire region is coming together. We see the UBCM issue on our calendar. So all communities are doing that, thinking about what are the issues we need to bring forward collectively. And the one thing I can't remember if it's actually in ours, I just read ours and I already forgot, but an effort across the region as well to deal with immigration and labor issues for businesses that are really struggling. So that was one thing that really stood out for me at that past meeting. And that's it. Oh, and also for your information is 1171, the strategic priorities list. All right, Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Bit of an embarrassing comment, but I really sort of dived into that items referred to this Standing Committee on Strategic Priorities. And I had to ask myself the question, I cannot remember why this is here. And when I looked at it, there was actually a number on there of things that we've either completed or are sort of not current with the strategic plan. So I was just curious if staff could provide just a quick comment on what the process to update the list is. Thank you.
I was just going to say it keeps showing up because we asked for it. So that's why. And then Mr. Dewar.
Yeah, so with that, we've had a few discussions over the last year about strategic projects, and that's one that the intention is for staff to bring back to council to further discuss at another point, and the next, hopefully over the summertime, we'll say.
Thank you very much. And just congrats to the staff for already completing some of these things. Thank you.
All righty. So we are going to move to the 14s. That's next up. So first report, it's 14.1 and a report from Ms. McKinley. So this is a culmination of our earlier communication, and it's or a conversation rather regarding topics for UBCM to minister. So Councillor Buikema.
I'll move the staff recommendation.
Seconder, please, Councillor Raven. And then any feedback or comments for Ms. McKinley? Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a process question. If I'd like to propose an additional note, is it too late?
Mr. Schroeder.
Thank you very much, Mayor. No, it's not too late. Council could certainly request it. The challenge would be getting council approval in time for the submission date of next Tuesday, as there are no council meetings between now and then. So council would likely have to just give staff the leeway to submit prior to any other type of review.
Thanks, Mr. Schroeder. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I'll just make a comment. So it was actually, I was reflecting on Councillor Buikema's reflections from his trip to Ottawa, specific to the bail reform workshop, and seeing it being significantly packed. And then it made me start to reflect on how did I miss that, just seeing the impacts that that's having to our community. And I recognize that I believe we already have a note that we propose to meet with the Attorney General. So maybe I'll just leave it for now and obviously recognize that we have to stick to the script. But I am sort of deeply disappointed in myself that that's something that I didn't bring forward. And obviously I recognize that progress is being made in Ottawa, but Bill C-48 doesn't reflect, I think, what we see impacting our community. So again, I guess I'm just remiss that I didn't do that, but alas, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Patterson. I think the one piece, and I might be wrong, is that it's not provincially regulated. So in some ways it's fine. We can, try to address it a different way. If it's something that you see your way through, council could consider, some different type of advocacy to the federal government versus the provincial government. So it's probably not too late, really. Okay. Councillor Raven.
Just wanted the rest of the table's thoughts on it for the Ministry of Housing and Municipal Affairs. So it's just about the shelter. Do we want to call it an emergency shelter services or just shelter services? Because we ask for a low barrier 24-hour emergency shelter in Smithers, and should it just be 24-hour low barrier shelter? I just don't know if I'm getting stuck on one word or not, or if that means something different when we're talking to the ministry.
I think the language probably is shelter, but it's not a word I'm going to die on either, but it's probably more clear if we're saying shelter. The the one that would be different if it were like the emergency cold weather shelter, I think then, I don't know if emergency is actually contingent, but that's the one I think of, but I don't think it matters. We could strike the word if it suits council. Okay, that probably doesn't require a motion. We'll just refer to it as the 24-hour shelter. And actually, it does say 24-hour shelter. It's just emergency shelter services. So however it goes is fine with me. Anything else? Okay, then the motion's on the floor. Are you ready? All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried unanimously. And thanks for the work. Like these big reports are easy to sort of go through, but it's because you spent a bazillion hours with the other folks that helped on this. So thank you. Okay, and 14.2 from Mr. Doer on the Healthy Community Funds Capacity Program with a recommendation. Someone want to put on the floor? Counselor Elliott and Counselor Raven. I am having trouble with your names today. Heaven knows how this is going to go. Okay, and Mr. Doer, was there anything additional you wanted to say about this one? Okay, questions from council, comments? Counselor Patterson.
Just a comment to sincerely thank Mr. Dewar in that I feel like we scramble every year. So to see this come across our desk so early is, I mean, it's unfortunate that we even need it, but I was really excited. To me, it just screamed proactive. So thank you.
Thanks, Counselor Patterson.
I'll just say that this is the work of many others, and I'm just here to help out a little bit.
Just the humble messenger. Yes. Thank you. Thanks to staff. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried unanimously. And 14.3 report from Ms. LeBlanc, letter of support request for Northern Edge Sport Association, and there is a recommendation. Counselor Ray,
Move the recommendation.
is there a seconder? Counselor Leonard, discussion? Counselor Patterson.
Thank you, Worship. I just wondered for the benefit of the public, should we include the cost estimation or it's not necessary?
Sorry, did you mean in the letter? Where would we include it?
I guess I was just curious because we have a lease agreement. I was just curious at what the cost would be. I mean, I guess it's not necessary, but I was just curious myself.
Okay, yeah, I don't have a response. I'm not seeing any, so we'll, okay. I'm gonna call the vote then. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Okay, 14.4, again from Ms. LeBlanc, and it is the annual municipal report update for adoption. Another one of these big pieces of work. We want to move adoption by Counselor Patterson, Counselor Ray. Any discussion? Counselor Buikema.
I found this report wonderfully informative. I really enjoyed reading it. I think it gave such a wonderful snapshot of the 2024 year. So I want to thank Ms. LeBlanc for the work that was put into this. Thank you.
Thanks, Counselor Buikema. Counselor Leonard.
Yeah, it was very well done. But just the notation from last week that I pointed out, that page is still in there. Sorry. So maybe as amended. Or should I?
Sorry, I'm looking to
Suggest the
staff for
amendment?
a,
Yeah, page 71 and 72 of the report.
I'm just gonna pause for a second while staff look for that.
That was in the auditor's report, correct? Yeah.
I think the response was we couldn't take it out of the auditor's report because it was a report provided by another entity. That's in my memory?
Staff will look into potentially taking that out.
Mr. Schroeder, and then I'll go to Counselor Leonard.
Thank you very much. I believe that was just an uploading error into the agenda itself. I believe that the actual report was amended and put out to the community with the page removed. Our apologies, council.
I don't think that's a problem. Thanks for that. You're good, Counselor Leonard? Okay. Alrighty, so with that, the motion is on the floor. Oh, Counselor Patterson, did you have a
Just a quick a comment, your worship, just recognizing the work of Staff Sergeant Smale, who's moved on. Just having the pleasure of getting to know Mark a little bit better through the Community Safety Wellbeing Committee, and just recognizing the work that he did for our community and the amount of people who've let me know or who talked to me about the difference that he made in our community. So I just wanted to shout out Staff Sergeant Smale. Thank you.
It's very nice. Councillor Patterson, thank you. Yeah, there's a look of question on the face of one councillor. Staff Sergeant Smale moved on a couple of months ago, so Sergeant Law is the acting detachment commander right now. Alrighty, that's okay. All in favor? Any opposed? And again, thanks to the efforts of staff for putting that together every year. Okay, and 14.5 from Ms. Chandran, the Willow Vale Wetlands Upgrade Project with a recommendation. Did I miss something? All right, what's going on over there? You mysterious counselors. We're good? Okay, good. I'm teasing you because I've missed lots of pages in these agendas over time. Okay, we are actually at 14.5, right? Okay, good. The Willow Vale Wetlands Project with the staff recommendation. If someone would like to put that on the floor, Councillor Raven, Councillor Elliott, any discussion? Councillor Raven?
Not discussion, just comment. So just wanted to give a big shout out to Access Smithers because they've done such an incredible job with that area. And it's really good to see to have the accessible chair and then the leaning rail at the proposed locations. I mean, it's just making that walking path more and more accessible. So it's a really neat project and shows again what happens when fierce advocates put their minds to something.
Thanks, Councillor Raven. Any other comments? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. 14.6, excuse me, from Mr. Walsh with the Sophie Statement of Financial Information with the recommendation. Councillor Raven, Councillor Patterson, any discussion? Councillor Patterson and Councillor Ray.
Just a question and perhaps a potential suggestion for page 180 of 342. I'll just give folks a second to catch up. So this is around Schedule 2, Council Remuneration and Expenses. I just thought maybe it might be beneficial just to have a note section here for next year, just to have a short explanation, the differences in expenses and remuneration. I think at first blush, it might look or appear as though some councillors may get more than others. And then there may be the question of the total as well related to expenses where they don't recognize that perhaps we have a conversation about that throughout the year and we share some of that funding. I don't know if that would be something for consideration, but just a thought. Thank you.
Mr. Dewar.
Well, you can look into it, but this is a pretty standard format for a Sophie report. It's a very systematic process across the province.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Patterson. Councillor Ray.
Comment to that, just that some things that used to not be counted as taxable remuneration now is. So if you're away and you're getting the per diem, then that's now included and now taxable. So that is the difference per the remuneration. I wanted to ask staff, because every year I bring this up. I don't like that the staff's name is on the report, and it's also time to bump it up from $75,000. And I don't have a motion, but if staff could point me in who to just write a letter as an individual rather than coming from council, I'm more likely to follow it up that way, and I can follow up offline, but it's really not fair with the level of anger that seems to be out there. I accept that as a counselor. You want to come and ask me about my expenses or whether you think my remuneration is too much, but $75,000 is no longer a sunshine in any way, shape or form, and it's not fair. It's absolutely fair that our citizens get to find out which positions are being paid what, but it's nobody's business what a person that works for the town makes as themselves. So I'll follow up offline on that.
Thanks, Counselor Ray. Mr. Welsh looks like he wants to say something.
Councillor Ray, that is regularly lobbied by the GFOA of BC to the ministry that the limit should be bumped up. So you're not alone in your position.
Thank you, Counselor Leonard.
Yeah, that was my understanding, is that it is a requirement.
Okay, we've got the motion on the floor. Are you ready? All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Okay, thanks for the information. Another big report. Okay, in the 15th, so a report from Mr. Blackburn. And it is for information. So there is a recommendation that we receive it, but it's our practice not to have those motions. If there's any questions, council can ask, and those that are here will try to answer. Okay, seeing nothing then, 15.2 and 15.3. So it's two sets of municipal markers. If there's any comments or questions? There's a lot of big reports on this agenda, taking a lot of staff time and work, and also, providing us that nice lens on how things work month by month and through the year. They're good comparisons, and it is nice to be able to flip through them. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Worship. I don't want to single anyone out, but I just wanted to say how impressed I was at the Smithers Fire Rescue on their training. My rough estimation of, based on the graph, is 750 hours of training alone. I just thought that was so incredibly impressive for just a single month. And then I just had a quick question on page 12. And actually, you know what? That's okay. We don't have anyone as a representative from the fire hall, so I'll just wait until one of them is present. I was just curious. My question was about if the monthly call total by year that we see in July, if that's just seasonal and if that's just normal, just that spike that we saw. But I'll wait. Thank you.
Alrighty. Okay. Was there anyone else with questions or comments? Okay. Then thanks again for the reports. So we are up to the 16s. This is where my little arrangement of pages earlier has gone crazy. Well, I'm going to trust I have the pages in the right order. I'm at 16.1. And proposed changes to bylaw 1991 Town of Smithers zoning bylaw with two recommendations. The first to rescind, second reading, and then we'll reread. So if anyone likes to put the first motion on the floor, so Councillor Raven, Councillor Elliott. So this is to rescind second reading to bylaw 1991. And a long thing there, but it's essentially that we're going to rescind first and then reread. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried unanimously. And the motion now to reread second, if anyone would like to put that on the floor. Councillor Buckham, Councillor Ray, any discussion? Not seeing any. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Through Mr. Allen, thank you to Ms. Chandran. All right, 16.2. So this is to adopt this. The language on this one hurt my head a few times. So indemnification repeal bylaw. All right, a motion to adopt, please. Councillor Ray, Councillor Buckham. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed, and that's carried unanimously. Okay, we're actually going through this stuff faster than I thought, regardless of how I put the numbers on my agenda notes. Okay, so I'm at.
My apologies, Mayor.
Oh, did I miss something?
Just a brief note. I believe that the third bullet or the third item under 16.1, consider rereading second reading with the new bylaw name. Council would have to move that, as the second motion was to consider amending the bylaw by renaming.
Thanks for that. I was actually following the staff report and it's not there. So I've got the agenda page here. So does the third bullet on the agenda page?
My apologies, Mayor. You are correct. That is the way that the motions were built. My apologies.
That's okay. But now, just so that we're on the same page, do I need to do the third bullet or are we good?
You're a-okay.
Oh, okay. Okay. No problem. I had just lost my agenda page for a few moments, so I was just working off the report. Okay, so we're good, and I'm gonna go on to the 17th. Okay, thanks, Mr. Schroeder. No problem. Okay, so 17.1, a letter from Mr. Lillies, and there are some comments in the letter. And there's sort of lots of possible response from staff. So my recommendation is that we refer this to staff and get a response back. Councillor Raven, you're moving that. Thank you. Councillor Buckham, seconds. Any discussion? Councillor Ray?
Well, just that writing RFPs is not our area of expertise. And this is one of those things that council, it's nice to be aware that somebody maybe thinks there's problems, but it's outside our area of expertise. We're not in the business of writing RFPs.
Thanks, Councillor Ray. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried unanimously. So we're at the 18s. We're gonna bundle 18s. So if there are any that you would like to speak to, can you give me the number and I'm gonna record it? Councillor Patterson,
Thank you, worship. 18.1,
18.1,
4, oh, apologies, 4
Yep.
and 6.
18.1, 18.4 and 18.6.
And then I just had a question that for the letters that were written from members of the public, if we don't bring those forward for discussion, is the assumption that staff will write a response no matter what?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and did I see other hands here? Other, Councillor Buckham,
18.3.
Councillor Ray? You didn't have any? Okay, on this side now, I'm looking to this side. Any others in those? And sorry, I had one, okay, it's already been circled.
18.6. I
Thank
think
you.
wanted.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I'd circled it already. Okay, so back to the top, so 18.1. We have a letter that came from Mr. Groves, Coast Mountain, and just for council information, this is one where it does make sense to have a reply. I had a quick check with Mr. Doer ahead of time. So Mr. Doer, would you like a motion to that effect, or would staff reply? Direction or motion?
Might as well make a motion.
Okay, and I don't remember who pulled it forward. Was it you? 18.1, Councillor Patterson.
Yes, your worship. My motion that I'm going to table isn't actually about writing a formal response. So I had just a very brief conversation with Mr. Groves just to better understand the specific request. And after having the discussion, my limited understanding is that the average for all of the local dealerships increase was almost over 2 million. And that BC Assessment may or may not be looking at how they're assessing automotive dealerships across the province. But in researching some of their policies, they are open to exploring new opportunities. And I guess my motion is specific to us writing a letter to a specific minister and raising concerns that they've brought forward based on the assessments within our community. I'll wait and make my motion. I just want to hear what others have to say first. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Patterson. I mean, I'll just jump in and then if staff have some comments. So I think, you know, the short story, and it's unfortunate when it happens to anyone, be it residential owners or business owners or anyone in classification, that there were some sales after a lot of stability in that sector for a very long time. And what tends to happen is when things get sold, they get evaluated and the valuations changed. And we do not, we don't choose the tax class and we don't choose the assessment category. So that is, Mr. Welsh, if there's anything, if I've misspoken or any clarity. Okay. So, you know, and it is the closing paragraph there, you know, that we didn't cause the increase and we don't actually create classifications. So there's just some challenges there. And I can't tell Mr. Doer if your hand's up or if you're playing with your pen. Okay. Councillor Leonard.
I had also wanted to flag this one too, so I'm glad Councillor Patterson did. I have had a conversation with one of the owners, and we talked at length about that. And suggested that they go to BC Assessment directly and, or the thank you. To lobby their case, because in my view, what they told me, it does appear unfair. And the way I understand BC Assessment to work is land and building are valued as land and building, not as a business operating. So I think there needs to be some fairness. And I like the idea that Councillor Patterson has posed to write a letter to BC Assessment if there's support around the table.
Thanks, Councillor Leonard. Councillor Ray.
So I think two things. We obviously can't create a new assessment class. We could lobby for one, but interestingly enough, I went with a citizen today and their buildings class 6, and class 6 is, I'm getting the impression now that the classes are too broad. They're, what you do in class 6 varies from place to place. Like, and for instance, a car dealership requires a large footprint. And unfortunately, BC Assessment's mandate is to try and be fair, but it's also based on best use, a whole bunch of other things. And I actually think that writing BC Assessment isn't going to help. The rules need to be changed somehow. Maybe the whole thing needs to be looked at, maybe just class 6. But I think if you're trying to run a fair system, having somebody's taxes over double, then the system's not fair. And I know Mr. Fisher has come to us a few times with different ideas on how to change it. And maybe it's time where, you know, it's becoming more and more unfair, I think. The other thing I did want to point out is that it's actually not the town of Smithers that's the benefactor. It's everybody else in town, because our taxes are reduced because we're asking for what we're asking for. We're not gaining a bonus. So everybody else has to pay a little less because the car dealerships are paying more. So just like, it's not the town itself, it's the people in the town are benefactors of it.
Thanks, Councillor Ray. Councillor Raven.
I am in favor of having a response from staff. Absolutely. I'm hesitant to actually write a letter to BC Assessment just for all the reasons that are raised by Councillor Ray. And then also another organization, if memory serves, Nessa asked us about the same thing because their classification changed as well recently. So I think it just might turn into a lot of letters going around. So I believe that staff should respond with the town's stance, but I don't know if this is something that we need to pick up on the broader level.
Thanks, Councillor Raven. Just a couple of things. So the general taxation issue and whether or not the taxation method relating to what Mr. Fisher, for people that have been at this table for a while, Mr. John Fisher would come on occasion and suggest that communities in BC lobby the province to change the way taxation works. There have been resolutions before UBCM over the years, you know, trying to suggesting that the province take up a different way of addressing land and property taxes or building and property taxes. That hasn't been taken up so far. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't ask, but it's not a new problem. And then previously at this table, we had a business reclassified that had a negative effect on others, as this does. And we did sort of pursue that one to the assessment authority and without success. So these are long, hard battles. Again, so it doesn't mean that letters shouldn't be written, but giving some thought to what it is that we're asking for. And perhaps, you know, I'm stumbling here a little bit, maybe gathering a bit of information before we embark on a letter writing campaign to try to understand, perhaps with other municipalities, and I don't have a clear way forward, but just asking that there be a new tax classification system probably won't be successful. It's too direct, and this is a complex system. But thinking about what is it that we're trying to achieve and how might that be achieved? And that might be back through UBCM. And we just had a conversation about UBCM lobbying, so it wouldn't be in time for this year. That said, if we had a clear idea what we were asking for, we could advocate as well outside of UBCM, but recognizing this issue is going to be affecting every municipality in British Columbia, and there's lots of challenges with how property is assessed and how taxes are set. So I'm happy to hear whatever motion's on the floor, but I think we're going to have to be fairly honed if we're hoping to have someone pick this up, recognizing that this comes up every year from various municipalities and has funneled to UBCM multiple times. So enough from me. I'll go to, did you have your hand up? Okay, Councillor Raven, I'm going to go back to Councillor Patterson. Councillor Raven.
I'd just like to make the motion that we refer the letter to staff for response.
Councillor Raven, I'm happy to take, and you've made the motion, so I should tell, Councillor Patterson had identified she wanted to talk about it. Can I?
Withdraw.
Okay, and then we can come to the refer to staff, just so that she can get through the things that she was trying to say. And it may be that refer to staff is the best, but you hadn't finished your comments, so.
Thank you, Mayor Adjo. So I concur with the information, recognizing that I had just had an initial conversation with Mr. Groves. But I would just say my sort of thought process was around the average for each individual local dealership being, almost over $2 million to me was quite astounding. And just thinking about just the impacts that would have on so many levels. So again, I was thinking about our role and how we advocate for businesses, large or small. And so my motion is, I'm just going to go ahead, Ms. McKinley, and then I can provide it later in writing, that council direct staff to write a letter to the Minister of Finance, raising concerns with the assessment for automotive dealerships in Smithers, BC.
Okay, I'll ask first if there's a seconder. Councillor Ray is seconding. So Councillor Patterson, is there something else you wanted to say about it?
Thank you, Your Worship. My hope was that that motion would be broad enough that we are just then really representing those businesses in our community to say that, we've heard concerns that have been raised, we bring it forward, and it's just a matter of record. And to your point, maybe there's follow-up or things that can happen thereafter, but I did want to respond to it while the issue was live. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else to the motion? Councillor Raven.
I will be voting against this motion just because of staff capacity. They'd have to research it. It wouldn't be as simple as just writing a letter. There would be some background that would have to go into it. So I would be voting against.
Thanks, Councillor Raven. I'm just wondering if there's any, I was going to ask for staff feedback, but I won't do that right now. Anyone else? Councillor Ray.
I might agree ordinarily, but we have when it went the other way, when NewPro got changed from heavy industry to light, we took the time to go and express our objection. So I think if something like this happens, and this is a very extreme case, but I've had it happen to me personally with if something in your neighborhood sells for more than the neighborhood's worth, you're going to pay more taxes next year. And I think this is an extreme example of that. So just to even bring it to the finance minister's attention, we're not complaining about BC assessment, we're complaining about the process.
Okay. Ms. McKinley, can you read the motion back, please? Or maybe you can't because Councillor Patterson read it. Councillor Patterson. Okay.
Thank you, Your Worship. Let's see here. That council direct staff to write a letter to the Minister of Finance, raising concern with the assessment for automotive dealerships in Smithers, British Columbia. Thank you.
Councillor Ray.
I do know that it's really too late for this tax season. So there isn't, like, staff doesn't have to write this letter tomorrow. Hopefully before next tax season, so it doesn't happen to another kind of industry. But yeah, I think I hear what Councillor Raven's saying, and it isn't a do it tomorrow kind of letter.
Thanks, Councillor Ray. I think the comment I'll make is that, this is extraordinary because of the difference and because you know, in Smithers, what do we have? We've got 4 dealerships and 2 sold. It's extraordinary set of circumstances. We have property owners who experience this every year. And so I just want to put forward that we don't do this for others. So somehow we're separating that there's something more extraordinary about this than when another business or homeowners feel this same result. So I'm putting that on the table because while I recognize this is extraordinary, are we talking only about these 4 properties, or are we talking about the issue when there's a sudden change in value as a result of a sale? And in my time here, there have been times where properties have been worth less, and then something happens in the region and property values go up. And then certain neighborhoods sometimes in the community all of a sudden are paying more. And in my time on council, we haven't reacted to that. So we have reacted, as Councillor Ray said, when there was the change of classification for one industrial taxpayer. But I just want council to be aware that we're reacting for a couple of property owners. I mean, 4, and it would affect all of them. But if we had a letter like this next week that said something had happened to, I don't know, pick any other sector, would we follow it through the same way? So I think this is extraordinary. And I just think what are we asking staff to do to say just this or this issue? So I'm going to go to Councillor Leonard first, and I'll come to Councillor Ray.
Yeah, I think to that point, for me, and this hasn't been verified, so that's one thing where I'm having an issue, but it was conveyed to me because there were conversations with BC Assessment directly, and they were told that they are looking at all dealerships in the province. So I would suggest that it isn't as a direct result of those 2 sales, and that there is more to the picture, but I don't know today, sitting here, if that's true or not.
Thanks, Councillor Leonard. Councillor Ray.
So I think Mayor Attrell, I get what you're saying, but this is almost a factor of 10. So if my taxes went from 4,500 to 8,600 in 1 year, I would write a letter to council. And I think that this is the first one this big that's been brought to our attention. If others haven't brought it to our attention, that's not really on council. This is extraordinary. I mean, that's a, you know, it's not a 50% increase, but it's pretty close. And, you know, it in a way, it doesn't matter what the actual numbers are. It's how much it's increased. Like, you know, for me, 4,500 to 8,600 would be, I wouldn't say a financial disaster, but I'd probably have to go and dip into my home equity line of credit to pay it. So this is a fairly, to me, to best my knowledge, is fairly unprecedented.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure we were sort of thinking through what we were doing. The motion is on the floor. Is there any feedback from staff? This time I will ask because this is going to come your way.
What I'll say on this one is if council wishes to move forward with it, we certainly can. I think it kind of, as council's identified, it opens up some gray area. And certainly it can create situations in the future where we are responding more frequently to these types of inquiries.
Thanks, Mr. Dewar. Okay. Anything, Mr. Walsh? You're good? I'm not going to drag you into it, but this is going to come to your office. So between a couple of offices here, this will be your not immediate problem, as has been said. So it's not urgent. We understand where we are on the tax year. Mr. Walsh, if you wish, and don't feel obligated. Okay. All right. Trying to decide how I'm going to vote here. I think I'm feeling uncertain enough. I am going to vote in opposition just to clear my vote ahead of time. Councillor Ray.
Just to respond to Mr. Dewar, and I recognize it is a little bit of a, but we're going to have an answer back about this. So if it happens again, we already know what the answer is going to be. So we would have an answer for whoever it happened to next. This happened to the dealerships. Here was the answer from the Minister of Finance. So it is, to me, we're getting we'll be getting information that we can pass along to others if it happens again. It shouldn't. And that's the point of the matter.
Okay, now there's a bunch of hands. So in the order that I saw them, in no particular order, I'm actually going to go to you last as the mover. So I'll go to Councillor Buikema. Councillor Raven, was there anyone else over here? Councillor Buikema, Councillor Raven.
I just want to state that I'm going to be a no vote as well. I think some of the things that have been said around the horseshoe, just about this could really open a can of worms where every time someone gets a large tax increase, we have to act on it. And I'm not sure I want to go there. So I'm going to be a no vote.
Thanks, Councillor Buikema. Councillor Raven.
No, you know, what, I withdraw.
Okay. All right. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Worship. Just something else that sort of was weighing on my mind, and I didn't really want it to inform my decision, but just my understanding of their sort of heads up to say that it's going to really impact their ability to provide competitive prices, and how many conversations we've had at this table on the cost of vehicles. And, you know, I was shocked when I had to buy a new vehicle when my old one broke down and I had a new baby at home to learn that the luxury tax in British Columbia had changed to 55,000 or just below 55,000. And I was shocked because I don't know if anyone's been to a dealership. You cannot buy a vehicle for anything less than that. So I just wanted to respect the fact that they were sort of giving us a heads up as well, that to say that that is going to impact their ability to provide competitive prices, and just recognizing that we live in a community where, you know, we have to drive a significantly far way to access a lot of the essential services that we rely on. So I really appreciate some of the comments that have been made around the table. And, you know, perhaps it looks like we're playing favoritism to one or the other. But that was part of my decision making. Thank you.
All righty. I'm wavering. We'll see where my hand goes. Any other comments? I'm going to call the vote. Councillor Elliott.
Yeah, I'll just say, I think that is huge increase. I think I support trying to contact Minister of Finance and say what's going on. I think the provincial government's probably happy it's going up because they're going to get more money in their coffers. But I think that is a lot of money for our business in our community to be paying more.
Wavering more. Okay. Anything else? I think we're going to vote now. All in favor? And opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Councillor Buikema, Councillor Raven, and me opposed. Okay, there we go. Hard to know. That was the first one. That's my little sheet again. Just the numbers. Did we have 18.2 circled or 18.3 is next? Okay. 18.3 then.
I was 18.3.
Okay, Councillor Buikema.
Yeah, I realize there's very little that can be done about it, but I just wanted to publicly acknowledge the frustration for a resident who sees a very large tax bill and receives very few services for it. And I think it's a very legitimate frustration. Like I said, I don't think much can be done about it, but I think it's definitely a legitimate gripe.
Councillor Ray.
So there's a couple of things though that are in error. And the one thing, they state that they're taxed for water. They're not. Water is a service that's taxed only to the water customers. And it's essentially a tax, but it's a fee for the service. And then just regarding the potential upgrade of the Smithers, I don't know if it's general knowledge. It's in our annual report that we are facing a fine if we don't do anything about that. It's not like we've chosen to go down and we have to do this. And I think I can speak from experience in my time on council. There's going to be disruptions to the neighbors. Unfortunately, that you can't do a lot of things without any disruption, but staff does a very good job of trying to minimize it and to keep people informed of how things are going during a project. So, and you know, some of the things, people don't see the value in their taxes all the time because different people use different services. I used to use the arena. I don't anymore. Doesn't mean I shouldn't have to pay for it now. And I think, you know, that it's weird, the town boundaries and stuff are weird, and I appreciate their situation, but it's like the assessment classes, we can't hive off people one at a time and tax them differently, unfortunately.
Thanks, Councilor Ray. I neglected to say that staff are working on this and preparing. Actually, don't even know what my note says. Anyway, staff are working on this in terms of having information for us. Councilor Leonard.
Yeah, this was on my list too. And I was curious about where the actual property was located, which was clarified by Councilor Buckham earlier. And I was going to ask the question about water, and are they actually being taxed when we don't provide that service, or if they can't access that service? And if they are, that's a concern for me. But I'll leave it at that if staff's working on it.
And if there is any response from staff here or anything that we need to know, Mr. Walsh.
This property only gets charged a fee for the water service, or the sewer service is not charged for water or garbage collection.
Anything else? Okay, so I'm just prepared to leave it. It is unfortunate. Nobody likes to pay for things, but we buy properties and things improve over time and costs go up. Councilor Buckham.
Yeah, and I appreciate that staff is preparing a response because I think they're owed one. Thank you.
Okay, and I might have misspoken, so I just want to make sure.
No, we've been in recent contact with the inquirer, and we are following up with a thorough response.
Thanks, Mr. Durham. Okay. So then next up, I have 18.4 BC Utilities Commission. There's two parts to that, if I've got it, that.
Your worship, just to be safe, I'll recuse myself.
Oh,
for
okay,
this once
Counselor.
again.
Yep, sorry. We'll wait. Okay, so yeah, two parts. We had invited them. They weren't going to come, but now they are. That's, or is that in here? I received a supplementary email from them saying that they will appear as a delegation. So is there anything I don't know who brought this one forward.
That was
Councilor Patterson.
myself, your worship, and I just had a comment from staff where on page 297 of 342, where they suggest if you would like your comments submitted to the evidentiary record as a letter of comment for this proceeding. I was just curious if that's something that we have done.
I don't know. I mean, we filed it. It was, oh, Mr. Shorter.
Thank you very much, Mayor. No, we did, we have not, we went, we thought we would come back to council and see if council wished to write a more fulsome letter, explicitly making some comments and points to the BCUC, and not incorporating a delegation aspect, or if council simply wished for us to just say yes.
Thank you very much, your worship, and I apologize. Did you say that they did agree to come back as a delegation?
Yeah, I've got, I received an email letter. Maybe I got it today. If staff haven't gotten it, they are intending, maybe I'll just pull it up so that I'm not misspeaking. Do you have it?
My apologies. I've actually just been informed that I'm incorrect. And yes, we did hit send and ask them to include it on the record.
Thank you very much. And maybe while her worship is pulling that up, if I may, your worship, have the head nod there. I was just shocked at my recent year end and my new projections for the coming fiscal. I cannot imagine what other larger families are facing. Just to compare maybe with my fellow councillors around the room who've probably also seen their projections, I got an almost $500 to $600 year end, and my projections have gone to $140 a month to almost $200 a month. And we are a humble family of two who is very energy conscious. So I just really appreciate our support in advocating for our community. I think it's really important. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Patterson. So I did just get the email. It looks like yesterday. It's gone to the inbox that these requests go to. And it says that they would like to come as a delegation on July 22nd. So that's going to sit in corporate services. So if that can be accommodated, that's when we can expect to hear them. So. Okay, anything else on that one? Oh, my pen just flew apart. We are up to 18.6 then. And this was the letter from Campbell River. I'm not sure if anyone else wanted to bring it forward. I did. Just at least for consideration, I think, you know, when I first saw this, I did think about the RBA, which is attaching resource development to benefit for communities. And I think the direction that Campbell River is suggesting is that we as well raise concerns about whatever industries are important to various communities. So council's pleasure here, but we do have, you know, the letter and the example from Campbell River. So what's your pleasure or comment? Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I had 18.6 on my list as well, and I would absolutely love to support them in their endeavors. Whilst I wasn't clear on what the specific request was, that would be my only hesitation. But I just want to say I deeply respect the negotiations that had come through the Regional Benefit Alliance and the work that had been done far before me. But when I read this letter, to me, it was more of how do we secure that conversation and keep it alive for future generations to come, and just recognizing how much our community and surrounding areas are resource driven and how much the Crown benefits from that. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Patterson. Anyone else? So I don't know that it requires any particular action. So if the session is approved at UBCM, people are invited to attend. That would be up to individuals, and as well with the, as is our practice with resolutions. And we could reply to Campbell River and we don't have to, so carry on. Okay. And Mr. Schroeder reminded me that the 18.7 was put there at my request, so I'm just going to draw some attention to it. We are working to convey some of our concerns to the Minister of Health through UBCM. And this is one that the Northwest Regional Hospital District is struggling with as well, trying to gain attention from the ministry in terms of support for recruitment and retention. So, you know, just for council's pleasure, we could, you know, write an additional support letter. I mean, my signature's there representing us at the hospital district, but, you know, in our very specific community, we're doing okay, but in our hospital district, not everyone's doing okay. And in our neighbors, especially going eastward, the challenges are pretty real. So anyway, it's sort of a way to encourage that the ministry do whatever it can to make sure that there are incentives as well for recruitment and retention. And we know the province is under, you know, it's under a lot of pressure, but we do need to have a way to ensure that we're doing everything we can to recruit and retain, you know, across sectors, but particularly in the health sector. Councillor Ray.
Yeah, I actually think that council should support this. It's I actually think it should go to, oh my goodness, I can't remember the parliamentary secretary, Brittany Anderson, because this to me is kind of what we were talking about in the previous item is, okay, we've given them some recruitment and retention for a while, that'll do them for a while. It needs to be ongoing. It needs to be something, recruiting for the North is a problem, and it has been a problem for a long time. And there needs to be some incentives. It's unfortunate. We're here because we like it, but there's a lot of reasons why people might choose other bigger centers. So we need this, and we need it to be ongoing. And you know, I guess that's okay to get political, but I think it should be couched as you're choosing to cut a rural program to save money when there's all sorts of different things. You know, I know what it's like to do a budget, but it just seems to be an easy mark for not very many residents in the rural areas. So I think we really need to push this advantage, or not this advantage, this program to be permanent.
Thanks, Counselor Ray. You know, a simple solution might be just to add a letter from the town of Smithers supporting the statements that were made in the letter from the Northwest Regional Hospital District. If we don't want to craft something wholly new. It's a possible motion, that would be it. Someone cares to make that motion? Counselor Bucama, Counselor Patterson, you're seconding. Ms. McKinley, is that enough? Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Thanks. I feel like that's all of them that were circled. Was there anything that I missed? Okay. I feel like we're there at the end of the agenda, unless I've missed something altogether. In that case, Mr. Schroeder, with your guidance, I'm going to get a motion to adjourn. Counselor Patterson and a seconder, Counselor Raven, and we're all in favor. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your patience through this. Thanks to staff.